Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. John Hood and Chris Fitzsimon, there are many urging new state superintendent of public instruction, Mark Johnson, and the State Board of Education to go ahead and get moving and taking action, even though the courts have put a hold on the decision as to who's going to have what kind of authority. Do you agree with them in saying that? John Hood, I'll start with you.
I think the right movement at this point is for both sides to cooperate as much as possible to staff up the Department of Public Instruction. I assume that the State Board of Education recognizes an elected superintendent has to have some people that the superintendent hires. I'm assuming that's logical. I assume that the state superintendent recognizes that while he doesn't directly work for the state board, he was elected by the voters, the state board is separately appointed. The state board does have constitutional authority over policy matters, and so they obviously have some role to play in influencing even the decisions that he makes about the department and his administration as the chief administrative officer. It seems to me they ought to be able to get together and work it out in such a way that the lawsuit ultimately is moot. It's still an important issue to resolve in the courts, but it shouldn't preclude moving forward with operating the department.
Well, Chris, what's the likelihood they're going to play nice together?
Well, I don't know, but what's interesting to me is that even if Superintendent Johnson, even if the lawsuit goes against the superintendent, I think it ultimately will, that the Constitution seems fairly clear, the state board has more authority. Worst case scenario for the new superintendent, he has the same powers and the same hiring powers and the same staff ability to shape his staff as former Superintendent June Atkinson, who did have some people that worked for her, who did work with the state board, who did go around the state and talk to folks, who had an active role before the state board in making presentations, who came to the legislature and did all those things. So Superintendent Johnson, at the least, is going to have the same amount of power and influence as the last superintendent, and I think he needs to get on with it. Reportedly, he's not interacting with many people at DPI. He's sort of in his own shell over there. I don't know whether it's a lawsuit or what it is, but the people who elected him deserve to know what he thinks we ought to do in public schools this year with the state budget, with testing we talked about on this week's show, and a lot of other really key issues before the General Assembly.
So essentially, are we kind of on hold here with public education?
I think that conversations are ongoing, and I think there will be movement shortly.
You agree?
Well, I hope so. I mean, we elected a superintendent. I'd like to see him do his job.
All right. Thank you for watching the Afterspin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.